Welcome to the Kings Beat podcast. I am James Ham, your Kings insider for ESPN 1320, and of course, the Kings Beat. Joining me, Mr. Sean Cunningham from Fox 40.
That sounds like it hurts.
It does. Everything hurts this morning. We'll get to that in a minute. And of course, Brenden Nunes, who is from the Kings Herald and the Kings Post podcast, but also acting as a pixelated character today. We're having some Wi-Fi issues here and there, and we'll see how it holds up throughout this adventure into podcasting. What's going on, Brenden?
Not too much, James and Sean. Yeah, apparently my Wi-Fi is acting up a little bit today, and I really thought I was going to get introduced first from here on, starting with last episode, but I guess not. So
He likes
see
to,
how it
he
is.
likes to he likes to mix it up a bit.
Because
Yeah,
Sean got
apparently,
eliminated.
meaning every once in a while putting me in the front, but you know.
It's all right.
Yeah. Of course, Sean has been eliminated from the finals pool. He had the Warriors winning in 5.
But
I'm
I said
still
I hope
alive.
I was wrong. I wanted to be wrong.
You did say that.
Doesn't make it any better, Sean.
No, it's fine.
Still wrong.
I had Warriors in 6. I am still alive in the pool. Brennan, of course, has the Celtics in 7. So he is still alive in the pool. There's so many
For now.
variables that, like, aren't there a couple of things that could happen that we didn't cover? Like, Warriors could win in 7. Well, I guess maybe that's it, right? Celtics can't win in 6 anymore. So, we've reached that pinnacle point in the season where the NBA Finals is about to wrap up. Just what are you guys' thoughts? Sean, you were at the game last night. Just how was it?
It was interesting. I mean, Boston jumps out and can't hit a shot. Turned the ball over all over the place, and they had a pretty miserable first quarter. And I still thought, I was like, wow, they're pretty lucky to be like within 10 because they trailed by like 16 at one point in that opening quarter. And then halftime happens, and they kind of make it a game. Third quarter, I mean, the Warriors come out and they look just dreadful. But they closed out so well, and Jordan Poole hits that shot, another buzzer beater like he did in Game 1. And it just really sprung them forward. Like it was remarkable that the Warriors did what they did, because you talk about all the adjustments in a series, and I think we were talking about how the usage of how much they rely on Steph Curry to really kind of lead them in scoring, and who's going to be that other person that's going to help. And for the most part, it's been Andrew Wiggins, especially on both ends of the floor. Much like so many of their guys, they're just so much great two-way players. But Wiggins has kind of been that other guy, and you wondered who that might be. Would it be Clay? Would it, usually you would say it would be Clay, maybe Jordan Poole, as we saw in previous series, but Andrew Wiggins has been fantastic. And that's exactly what he was, probably his finest moment of his career. And it culminated into a nice win and gave the Celtics 2 straight losses for the first time in the postseason. And I'm pretty confident that it's going to be a third loss. I think the Warriors are going to handle business in Boston. I don't think there'll be a Game 7, as much as I'm rooting for that, because Game 7s in an NBA Finals is something that I want to experience. So it's not that I have a rooting interest, but all of a sudden I do selfishly. I don't care who wins. I thought it would be Warriors in 5, as we mentioned a minute ago. I think this is exactly what we've seen from the Warriors, and you finally saw a bunch of guys step up. And I never thought I'd see a game, James and Brennan, where Steph Curry has not hit a three-pointer. That was bizarre to me, and it felt like we're in a parallel universe. And they won that game. And they won it like decidedly. And yeah, man, this is the concern I had about Boston before the series started, where it's like it's a Jekyll and Hyde. You don't really know what you're going to get. They sometimes can't keep their foot on the gas when it comes to their scoring. I thought Jaylen Brown was really bad. You didn't get that, Derek White kind of push that you needed, and there are so many turnovers between Brown and Smart, and Smart kind of derailed as well. So this is just some of those concerns, that I had going into the series. And I said the team that's looked most like themselves for the majority of the playoffs, majority of the series, including the finals, has been the Warriors. So this isn't much of a surprise to me.
Yeah, the Celtics managed only 10 points from their bench in this one. And really, there's only 3 guys. I mean, 2, and then there's one that plays a bit. Grant Williams played 16 minutes. Derek White played 21 off the bench, and then Peyton Pritchard played 5. There's a handful of guys that got 1 in some garbage time. But I kind of thought it was, again, a little bit of the role players not showing up for Boston. I thought specifically early that Horford and White had some good looks. They weren't really knocking anything down. And even a little bit later in the game, I thought that Jaylen Brown was really tough in this one, like Sean kind of pointed out there. And, I mean, as much as I predicted Boston in 7, it's hard to not feel like it's Golden State in 6 right now, because to not win a game when Steph Curry doesn't hit a single 3 has got to feel really bad for the opposing side. I mean, that's a game that you need to take advantage of. Steph was off. I thought that Klay looked really good. Klay looked a little bit like himself in a way that I feel like we haven't seen all too much outside of like one quarter here and there throughout these playoffs. But Klay looked in rhythm and like he was hitting shots. Tatum has been taking an okay amount of mid-range shots, but still not really hitting them at a great rate. Yeah, I mean, Jaylen not hitting a shot from 3. The Celtics going 11 of 32 from 3 in general. They also missed a lot of free throws. They missed 10 free throws, lost the game by 10 points. So there's that for what it's worth. And I think the Stars showed up in an okay rate outside of Jaylen Brown. And it really felt a little bit like, you know, again, the role players, just what side is going to have their role players showing up. And more often than not, it's the home team. And that's kind of what held true in this one. We had Jordan Poole having an okay third quarter, like Sean pointed out. And the Celtics just didn't look too hot. You can't lose a game where Curry doesn't score a single 3.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this at the beginning, but the experience factor, like, it does matter. And we're not talking about a team that's, you know, that's been to the playoffs a bunch of times, or that's been there once or twice before. We're talking about, this is the core of the Golden State Warriors have been there 6 times together. And that's just really, really hard to replicate, to figure out how to match that. And every game has its ebb and flow. You know, we've seen Boston kind of fix some of those third quarter issues. They've figured out how to punch back. And I think this series has kind of been all about the second half. And at the end of the day, like, the Warriors are just so incredibly good at being efficient and finding ways to get it done, even when shots aren't falling. They just keep going at you. And I'll also point out that for as good as Andrew Wiggins has been, I think he's been really good on the offensive end. I think he's been really good on the defensive end. But when he is the difference maker, to me, it's when all of a sudden he starts skying out of nowhere for a bunch of rebounds. And when he's that tells me that he's 100% engaged in the game. When you get that, I think they're too tough to beat. I mean, I think Steve Kerr has been generous to run Andre Iguodala out there at all. I think that Nemanja Bjelica has given them like some interesting minutes here and there. He wasn't great last night, but he was good the game before. But like it really was always going to come down to the stars of the Warriors, the guys who have been there time and time again, who know, you know, what a 4-minute finals timeout feels like, who know, you know, how an arena can get nuts and go quiet. And like, they've just been there. They felt everything that you can possibly feel as a team. And there's a value to that you just can't put a number on. And that's why I think, you know, again, I would be surprised if they didn't close out in 6, but, you know, stranger things have happened, right? Like, and injuries could still play a part in this.
Do you think there's a substantial difference between, I mean, like, Boston had been to the Eastern Conference Finals so much. You think there's really that big of a difference between Eastern Conference Finals and the finals for the whole thing?
Yeah, because it's been a while, right? It's been a couple of years since they were at the Eastern Conference Finals. Am I wrong?
Is it
no, but,
2 years?
2 years, but I'll say this, like, where it really shined through to me, especially in this series, was not even last night. I mean, it was Game 4 in Boston, because Boston played a pretty superb game overall, and that one was such a back and forth. I mean, that was the best game of this finals, and I feel like I might have been like halfway through the fourth, and I said, I don't see Boston losing this game. And I said, if they do, I think it's going to be an ultimate gut punch, like just a killer. And you watch the way that game ended, where the Warriors close out, they make great decisions. That turnover in front of that Boston turnover by Jaylen Brown in front of their bench, it really came down to those fine details. And obviously, look, I know that's where everything just matters more, but things develop so much more in the game. And I just felt like Boston played so tight in Game 4 that it did have a trickle-over effect into Game 5. I think it was a demoralizing loss. And especially because, let's be honest, like Boston hasn't played very well on their home floor either throughout the whole playoffs. Like they've been better on the road. So that's why I was like, all right, going into Game 5, I was thinking to myself that first quarter was going to tell me everything I needed to know about the Celtics in this series. And they laid an egg. I mean, it was terrible. They showed some fight, don't get me wrong, but especially in that third quarter. I mean, third quarter was great. And I'm thinking, okay, great, here's the resolve. Here's that turnaround. Here's where Al Horford's going to step up. That didn't really happen. So, but I still think it's a trickle-over effect from Game 4. I don't think they're going to lay down necessarily in Game 6. However, would it shock anybody? I just think the Warriors are just too good. I know a lot of people thought that the Celtics were better. They're probably right. Maybe the Celtics are a little deeper, but I think when it comes to just overall execution, teamwork, being able to withstand physicality and the ball movement, just look at the ball movement. I mean, they move the ball better than any team in the NBA. I think they walked away with 6 turnovers as a team last night, and that's not an anomaly. That happens a lot. So, and you do in a game where your star can't hit a shot. So, I just think they find ways to do it. Hopefully. But we've seen it in the past where the Warriors have taken their foot off the gas and they've let teams back into series. So that's a little bit of a concern. But to me, I'm fully expecting the Warriors to step on their throats. And to be honest, I don't think Game 6 is going to be all that interesting. If I was a betting man and had to make a guess, I think it might be a double-digit victory by the Warriors.
Brenden?
I don't know. I mean, I hope you're wrong too, Sean.
I do.
6 turnovers by the Warriors, I do think is a little bit of an outlier. Like I think Boston has shown the ability to play better defense. The Warriors averaged the second most turnovers all regular season, behind Houston, who had no point guard really on their roster. Like I think that both Boston and Golden State have been pretty prone to turnovers in this series, and we've seen Boston the last 2 games make some pretty careless mistakes. I think both Tatum and Brown have been pretty tough. Specifically, Brown in that last game, like Sean said, I really thought Jaylen Brown was bad in that Game 5.
Yeah, he was terrible.
Yeah, he couldn't. He was forcing shots a lot, and a lot of times Marcus Smart was forcing in a lot of shots too. There wasn't great ball movement. It was a lot of like, why are you trying to do this with 14 seconds left on the shot clock? And I felt like Boston just felt a little pressed. They were forcing a little bit too much. And I think they need to do a better job of – I think they did an okay job of making Curry a little bit uncomfortable, but the rest of the guys on Golden State's offense as well, and kind of forcing turnovers and trying to get out in transition and get some buckets there as more often as they can. I mean, certainly the series is in Golden State's favor, but with how good Boston has played on the road, I can't help but – not write them off at this point. Like they won Game 6 in Milwaukee against the defending champs when they had their backs against the wall and were facing elimination at that point. They won Game 7 in Miami. I think Sean said, I think that they're better on the road than they have been at home. So I think that's worth something and makes Game 6 very pivotal. But yeah, I mean, again, not winning a game where Steph Curry doesn't hit a single 3, it's really hard to keep faith in Boston because that's a game that you absolutely should have won. I think some of the other guys showed up, but the defense needs to be a little bit more clean. I think they needed to force turnovers a little bit more often, and I think that Boston's offense settled a little bit too much. It was, Marcus and Jaylen forcing things a little bit too much for me.
There we go. All right, so let's get to the standard. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. We broke 1,500 subscribers this week, so that's a yay. We're doing awesome. So thank you for that, people out there. If you're watching, just give us a give us a subscription. Also, the Kings Beat is growing, expanding. It's been awesome. We will have another happy hour coming up because of the draft being on the Thursday night that we typically do things like the happy hour. I'm going to have to fit it in. This is going to be kind of a crazy couple of weeks here, but working on a big guest. Hopefully, I will have that locked up in the coming days, and we'll have an announcement. I'm pretty sure we can fit it in here in the month of June. Either way, it should be. We will have another happy hour soon. So that is for premium subscribers to the Kings Beat. So jump on board with a premium subscription. Outside of that, happy hour shirts and all that stuff, it's down below. There is still a 15% off code for all of your Kings Beat merchandise, which is awesome stuff by Brickhouse Industries. So we've got some stuff to talk about, Kings related. The Kings did announce their, well, sort of, and then, well, yes, I guess they did eventually. Most of their coaching staff, so Jay Triano is official, Doug Christie is official, and Luke, is it Luke Lauk? Is that? Laux, okay. Yeah. So we got 3 new official assistants. And then, of course, like we've complained about this, and I'm not going to like drag it out and, beat a dead horse here. But
beat that dead horse.
The Kings have decided this year just to not allow us in the building at all, which is totally bizarre and totally a missed opportunity for them to drum up excitement about their product. And like we've harped on this quite a bit. And I think some people are looking at it like, why does it matter? And it does. There's a lot of reasons why it does matter. But I also think that there's some people out there like, oh, this is great. They're being secretive. And I think you're missing what the point of bringing in draft prospects is. And sometimes when like we're going in for draft prospects, most of the time it's like 6 players who are either second round picks or not getting drafted at all. It's a way for them to get their name out there, for them to show who they are as players, to get some TV time if it's a local tie and stuff like that. But like we had one season where we had 101 prospects. The Kings, I believe, in that draft had 3 second-round picks, and I think they used all 3. But that means that if the Kings are bringing in like 101 people and only 30 people are getting drafted in the second round, and they have only 2 of those picks, they really aren't like giving us something that we can like make any judgment call off of, if you understand what I'm saying. So again, like this year, the Kings have the 37th and the 49th pick, right, in the second round. If they were to allow us in the door, there's no way that we're going to know who they would possibly select at number 37 or number 49. That's just impossible. They should have, the chances are they brought in 60, 70, 80, 90 prospects for those 2 spots. And so there is no secret sauce.
No, but I mean, it's beyond that. You're showing you're showing your fan base you do your due diligence. You're showing your fan base that, hey, we take the draft seriously. That we're gonna like going from an organization like every team in the league who has done this and open your workouts up. It shows the staff in what you're capable. It shows the people that are around you that you have a strong, organization that's capable of doing these things. Like, the most secret guy in the world was Jeff Petrie, and guess what? You had workouts that were open. You do it to show off your organization. You get the impression of these young kids coming around who, some of which may not want to go to your organization, some of which who may not know that much about your organization. This is where they learn about it. But there's stories, man. There's stories. Like, it's a big deal to have some of these top names come through your city and your organization. And I know there's, the concern of, oh man, there's nothing worse than showing the Kawhi Leonards and the people that you got passed on. No, that's a good thing. Like, ultimately, your decision, whoever was in charge at the time, may not have been the right decision, but you had those people in your gym. You had the opportunity to do it. Plus, you're getting intel. It's an information gathering business. And, oh, by the way, you're the Kings. You haven't made the playoffs in 16 years. the NBA just down the road is an NBA dynasty in the finals. You're losing your market. Like, people should be talking about the Kings right now with the 4th freaking pick. And that's just asinine to not be a part of the discussion right now. You're irrelevant in your own market, and that's a shame. That's an absolute shame, and shame on them. They have to fill that building out, and there's no excitement around your fan. This is the easiest way to get excitement around your fan base. So I don't know. It's mind-boggling to me. I'm sure if you're a front office executive, you love it because it takes away a distraction. And I get it. You don't have a lot of people. But I'm telling you, man, it's not that hard. It is not that hard. I've been doing this far too long. It is not that hard. Open it up. You don't have to show everything. You bring the media in for 10 minutes. You get the brief look, but you let them talk to the pick. You're not talking to any of the coaches or front office people putting on the show. There's no excuse. So that's my soapbox.
Sean is pissed. I'm pissed. Brenden hasn't
well,
been
and
through
it's beyond that. Hold on. But to say that, hold on, I got to cut you off because you mentioned something that kind of irked me, James. You said, not being able to see that we have no idea who they pick. No, that's not the reason. We'll still have an idea of who they pick based on phone calls and people we talk to.
Of course.
So that it's not like, and again, it's not about those second-round picks. What's your G League look like? What's your Summer League look like? What's your training camp rosters look like? What's your Exhibit 10? What's your two-way look like? What are your staff who are bringing these people in? Like, now that if you go and you sign a Christian Terrell to your Summer League squad, well, he's played with the Stockton G League team. He's from Sacramento, went to Sac High, went to Sac State. You've got this local angle. You know what I mean? And it's stuff like that. That's why that's why you can look at a Gabe Vincent who's had this crazy NBA journey and know that he was within the Kings organization for a while. I don't know.
It's interesting.
My curiosity from somebody that this would have been the first year I would have even had access to all these prospects, how much of an outlier is this? How many other teams do you think, 28, 29, like, is it to that extent that would be giving this sort of access to media?
No, it's not. It's not this year. I know. I think that there are other teams that are doing this, but like 4, 5, 6 teams that are doing this. But that doesn't matter. The Sacramento Kings are the team that started drawing 6,000 fans last year in a beautiful brand new building that still looks gorgeous and still looks amazing, and they still put on a show, even if the basketball is bad. This is an opportunity to sell tickets. It's an opportunity to keep people engaged in your product. That's it. We're not being spoiled media brats who are. But for 12 years, I've gone to every single workout, and all of a sudden we don't get. Not only do we not get invited, but after the first week, we haven't even got a notice on who's coming into Sacramento. I mean, I get it, but this has dysfunction written all over it, just like everything else does here. And it's just flat out, it's a missed opportunity. Again, Sean talked about it before we got on. Went to a local bar and was watching part of the finals, and how excited people were every time the Warriors hit a shot. That's bad. It was
with the Golden One Center
as a backdrop.
With the backdrop, you could see it from where we were.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Do you think it has anything to do with them having the 4th overall pick, or should that not matter?
No, it shouldn't matter, because the reality is if you have the 4th overall pick, you're getting less people around that 4th overall pick in your building. I mean, that's just the way it is. If you're a top 5 pick, you don't really need to go. If you're projected to be a top 5 pick, you don't really need to go and visit with anybody. You can.
Yeah.
It's all the other stuff, man. It's doing the intel. It's doing the, whatever you want to call it. It's just a missed opportunity. And it's kind of the way LeBron looked at J.R. Smith, with everything going along, going wrong in Sacramento. This is a layup, bro. And you just look at him and you go, what are you doing? So
it is.
You can't help the people that don't want to be helped, I guess.
Can we go a little further into this, just out of my curiosity, I guess? What is a layup? Getting more understanding of these guys that you could potentially consider at 4, or what do you mean by that?
No, the layup is having people talk about you during the finals, having
Prospects or the team?
No, the team, bro. It's all
The
about
media.
the team.
Yes.
Nothing happens about the the
Yeah.
prospects are what they are. Like, you could have Joe Blow bag of donuts. It doesn't matter. Having people who have, there's a lot of cool stories that come in and out of here, but the backdrop is your team. Your team doing the due diligence, kicking the tires on somebody, showing that they have a scouting department, a coaching staff, a organization who is doing every step possible for the draft with the draft in mind. Doesn't mean you're going to get. Again, it's all information gathering purposes. You're holding workouts that the media has no access to that historically do, and that's not good. So. It's not so much the workout itself. And again, like, the media goes in there. You talk about their story. You talk about their impressions of the organization. That's all good feedback. That's all good to hear. You've got these people talking about your organization in a pretty positive manner, or things about that.
It's interesting.
To be topical during the NBA Finals,
yes,
is a good thing.
It is, and it's not like we're gonna walk out of there knowing that someone's gonna get drafted, right? But
like Dyson Daniels is working out on Friday, likely Friday.
Yeah,
a guy who was just spent is an interesting path to the NBA because of his ability to play at G League Ignite, right? That's in Walnut Creek. It's not far from Sacramento. Like, he's already got an idea of what this region is like. That's interesting. So. It's sad. It's just really sad. And that's also a guy who's probably going in the top 10.
And we've also, I think it's the break from the norm. I think that's the biggest thing, because let's be honest here. The Sacramento Kings have been absolutely atrocious for the last 16 years. So when you're a bad basketball team, that means that you draft in the lottery. So we've been through this before. Like, the Kings had, De'Aaron Fox is a 5th pick in the draft. Marvin Bagley is a 2nd pick in the draft. Thomas Robinson was a 5th pick in the draft. Just go back, like DeMarcus Cousins, 5th pick in the draft. Tyreek Evans, 4th pick in the draft. Like, we've been through this before, where you bring in prospects. I mean, there was this doesn't happen anymore. The agents are controlling too much of what's happening as far as like the action on the floor. Like, Jeremy Sohan went in and actually played against 5 other people with 2 and against 3. They did 3-on-3 play at a workout. The only reason we know that is because the Kings put a workout out during the 3rd quarter of the NBA Finals. Like talk about a lost opportunity. Like, again, and then here's one of the things that all that did was leave more question marks, because there you see Rico Hines and Lindsey and other people that haven't been confirmed on the staff, and their contracts are up at the end of this month, so they can just be working there, and then they're working out their last couple of weeks before they go on to other things. It's just that in the past, and I know we can't live in the past all the time, there were times where Steph Curry, Tyreek Evans, Johnny Flynn, and Brandon Jennings had like a battle royale for the number 4 pick, and Tyreek Evans was a man amongst boys and earned the number 4 pick in a workout in Sacramento. That's incredible buzz for your franchise, that happened in your city. Damian Lillard came in, missed like 1 shot the entire time. Everyone knew it. He was supposed to be the 5th pick in the draft. The last second, they changed their mind and took Thomas Robinson when he fell to them at number 5. Like, these are stories that happened during the draft, but I can tell you, like, people waiting in the bushes for Jimmer Fredette to show up, like, that it's a story. That's something that, like, lives on. But still, if you're a local television guy like our friend Sean here at Fox 40, that's a story. Like, the fact that there's someone jumping out of the bushes, I mean, that thing sells. It can go viral. These are moments, and you're just missing all of the moments to have people in your building. And the Kings are, trust me, they're complaining because they don't have enough media. This last offseason, when they lost both NBC Sports and The Athletic covering them on the daily basis, they were upset, pissed, confused. Their media coverage is shrinking, and it's because of situations like this, where Like, you can't even give the few people that you have left covering your team a look inside the building and what's happening. And again, like Sean said, it's a missed opportunity.
And Brenden, it's more to that. It's like these workouts ultimately don't matter. It's the time you're spending. It's the time you're spending with getting to know these people, right? Look, if you're the front office executive, if you're Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox, you shouldn't care about this because all you have to care about is the draft and making your team better. But it's all the business side, It's the ownership. It's your day to day. It's your PR. And look, we realize that there's some holes in their PR department, but this isn't a difficult process, guys. This is something that somebody shows up, you put in a waiting room, you get the green light, you bring them in, they stand in a corner, people come over and talk. And you usher those people over who have been requested, and then you get the hell out of the gym. Like it's not you can have one person do this. It's not that big of a deal, and to the point of it goes a long way. It's like I said, it's something that it resonates. It makes you guys topical, and it's an organization that should be desperate for any kind of positive local coverage of them. I know we're going down this soapbox now, and this is just a rabbit hole, but man, I never put too much into the workouts anyway, aside from the fact that there's some neat stories that come out of them. But the overall benefit is your organization looks like they've got nothing to hide. Like, hey, we're doing our goddamn jobs here. We're trying to get better, and we shouldn't have this cloak of anonymity over it because you want to be up front and center with your fan base saying we're doing everything we can to be relevant again. It's maddening, man. I talked to there's the entire NBA contingent at the NBA Finals, and I was talking to this subject about it. Two of them were like, "You're kidding me! Why aren't they doing that?" They had no idea why. And again, it's just because Kings aren't top of mind, man. So again, it's probably beneficial to.
But they could be, is your point, right?
Well, with the
fourth pick,
in the smallest way possible, doing just the the bare minimum, bro. I mean, we're talking about bare minimum.
This is the bare minimum.
No one's seeing. Yeah, nobody's seeing. Name your possible. No one's seeing Michael Foster from the G League or Trevor Keels from Duke coming in, who's a projected second-round pick, and thinking that they're going to take them number 4. It's just maddening, bro. It's just so weird.
Yeah.
So is there anything? Sorry to interrupt you, James. Is there anything, as you two that have been doing it for a decade plus, that you can read a little bit deeper into them not allowing access? Does that mean anything to you, or is it more of it's just doing this the wrong way?
No, it's just, to me, it just comes off as amateur. It just shows that you're not the organization you maybe think you are, and you're just. It's kind of like, I'm trying to give a good analogy, but look, the good organizations don't sweat this stuff, man. They just go out and do what you do. You're not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes.
Meaning just giving access to media.
I'll say this.
It's not even access to media, Brenden. It's like, oh man, you shouldn't be scared of that. You shouldn't be scared to have people in your gym and seeing you bringing second-round picks. You shouldn't be nervous about people being in there. I realize you have a couple holes in some pretty big, public relations departments. I also realize you don't have your head coach there. So what? You've already announced that there's coaches that are available. I realize that there's some coaches that are reaching the end of their contracts and probably won't be around. Jeff Petrie was famously running workouts while they helped usher in the Pete D'Alessandro era and get his staff in place and help out you're assisting the draft. It's just what's there to be scared about? And again, if you're the front office, you don't care. All you want to do is worry about the draft with as little hiccups as possible. This isn't going to make it any the notion that this makes it easier doesn't. It just shows that if that's something you're worried about, and I'm not saying that they are, because again, I don't think they should concern themselves with that. But if you are somebody in the front office who thinks, oh my God, this is a distraction, this isn't worth it, blah, 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 we can't have this, and we just need to put all our focus onto the 4th pick, that shows me that you're weak-minded and you allow the little shit to get in the way of actually doing your job. And that speaks more loudly than anything else. And I'm not saying that they feel that way. I think if given the opportunity, this front office would be like, yeah, that's fine. But I think they're using certain holes within their PR department at the moment that haven't been filled as a reason to let's keep everybody out. Let's just not do it. We'll circle back next year when we're back in normal. And that's probably true. And I somewhat understand that. But realizing what I know about the actual process of bringing in media to look at a regular shoot around or a practice, or even look at a smaller end of things, a draft workout, that's kind of laughable. I mean, you've got 3 people in your PR department, actually 4 people now in your PR department, 3 from the business side, who are very professional people and very good at their jobs and able to accomplish something as simple as keep your media here for a moment, now usher them in, now go get those people that they wanted to talk to after a 10-minute viewing window, and now tell them to get lost. So it's not that hard.
Yeah, this is, I mean, realistically, it's, we're just seeing another symptom of what has been like a major disease within this franchise for a long time. And like, like you go to a Golden State Warriors, media availability for a shoot around on like a Wednesday mid-season, they open doors here in Sacramento. They come to Sacramento. They say, we're going to have a shoot around from like 11 to 11:45. When shoot around's done, Steve Kerr sits down and hangs out with the media and talks for 15 minutes. You can go to media relations and ask for anyone that you want. If they're available, they'll say, go ahead. One time the Warriors were in town, I said, hey, is there any way I can go talk to Steph about De'Aaron Fox's development? Okay. I went over and sat down with a 2-time MVP for 10 minutes. Media relations left us alone. I got to ask him whatever I wanted. This is just a regular shoot-around. Steve Kerr got done with his 15 minutes. He talked for another 45, hung out with the media. So now the media knows him. His media in the Bay Area, they know him really well, but so does every other media group around the country, because everywhere he goes, he's accessible. He sits there and talks. And it's not that he has to talk about gun safety or what's happening in politics. It's that he's willing to sit there and talk basketball for a while. You go to a Sacramento Kings shoot around, they let us in as the players walk off the floor and walk right by us like, hey, what's up, guys? And they leave. And then they give us whoever it is that they possibly don't want. They know that we wouldn't really care. Like, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's why you have to put in a request, James. That's why you have to tell them who you want to speak to, like I do every single time.
No, but even if you do,
or else you get Mo Harkless.
Even if you do, normally you don't. They still don't give us anyone.
Well,
like
again, there's people who come and go, and again, you as a media member need to go in there every single day prepared to say, this is who I want to talk to.
Yeah.
And there are going to be times where those people aren't available, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But more times than not, they're usually great about bringing the people that you want to talk to. And if there's people that, that's going to be that, it's like, great, I've got nowhere to go. This is my job. Like, the thing is, well, they might get treatment, might be a well, I'm on the clock, so
that's fine.
That's the way it works. This is my job.
So
in your mind,
the point is, Brenden, that this isn't the way it is everywhere. Yeah. Like, there is a bunker mentality here in Sacramento that they've lived under for a long time, that they're always worried someone's going to say something that gets taken the wrong way or whatever, and it's going to be an ugly situation that they've got to deal with. That's never it's so rarely the case, In
your mind, both you guys, is that, I guess Sean first, like, is in your mind, is this because Sacramento already has bad rep, or is this because they're resetting the media relations staff with the Kings?
No, I think it's just using excuses. I think it's not. I think there might be a belief of we can use this excuse to keep the distractions out. And I just think they're worried about the wrong things. Like, look, I know there's a lot of holes and they're trying to fill. I get it, and you got a draft to prepare for. I get it, but you have the right people. You have people in place that can do can do the job. You know, there's no reason to try to keep things a secret when it's not. These aren't things worth keeping secrets over. It's not like anyone thinks that Dyson Daniels will be the 4th pick. You know, it's just, come on now. Like, it's just doing your due diligence and showing your organization is capable of preparing for a draft and not using excuses to try and keep some like secrecy. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't understand it. I think, look, again, try to draw the fine line in the sand. I do think a basketball operations department would rather be left alone to do this, and I think most of them understand that the job is to concentrate on the draft with as little distraction as possible. I get it. So I don't blame some people for thinking that all we want to concentrate is on the draft. So if the mentality is that the media provides a distraction for the 15 minutes they're in your building for getting ready for the draft, I'm just not buying it. But again, if you want to be left alone, I get it. But organizationally, you should not stand for that. Organizationally, you should open everything up and say, hey, no, we're getting ready for this draft. We're excited to have the 4th pick. We want people talking about the 4th pick. We want our fans to be excited about the 4th pick. We want our fans to buy tickets. We want them to be reading articles about our team. We want them buying merchandise. We want them to get on season ticket holder, you know, all that. Like, all of that. I know it's June, but the season fast approaches, and maybe they say, oh, we'll get the 4th pick, and it can rile all that up. Yes, that's true. But be a year-round conversation. Strike when the iron's hot, and this is the easiest way to do that in a time where the NBA is very relevant right now as it reaches its crescendo in the NBA Finals.
Well, and I'll just add this, like, 'cause we've beat this dead horse pretty solidly today.
We did.
I didn't expect this to go like this way and for us to spend so much time on it. But I'm just going to point out the Kings have the 4th pick in the NBA draft. That means that whoever should go number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10, number 11, number 12, they should all be racing to Sacramento to try to steal away the 4th pick in the draft. Also, the Sacramento Kings could move down in this draft. We've talked about this countless times. They could move down to the 6th pick, to the 8th pick, to the 12th pick. You should see those people coming through. There should be a parade of young players. So you might not be able to get Jabari, Chet, Paolo, and Jaden Ivey because they all think they're going number in the top 3, even though there's only 4 spots. There's 4 of them. They all think that they're going there. But what you should be able to get is Keegan, AJ Griffin, Benedict Mathurin. Name that player. You should be able to get them. And the fact that you were able to get some of these guys at the Combine, who cares? Like, at the end of the day, you should be able to say, which is something that the Kings have held sort of pridefully at some points, we were able to get 20 of the top 30 picks in this draft in our building. That's like, all right, that's good. People are excited about what's happening with you. They're excited about what's building. The fact that we can't tell you more than like probably 20-something deep of the second-round picks that they've had in the building, the potential second-round or undrafted players, it is what it is. I mean,
well, and the reality is anybody. I mean, if you go through the whole draft, you're not going to have many of the people who are going to go top 10 in your building. You're just not. And you know,
if you're the 4th pick, though, you will.
Yeah, but that's one. Yes, and that's one of the reasons why you want to show that this notion that no one wants to play in Sacramento. Like, there's plenty of people who are keep coming through here who are going to attend these workouts and do their thing. You're having workouts. You show that off, you know?
Yeah.
There's people who don't have to take workouts with the Kings and don't have to come to Sacramento to work out with the Kings. What was one of the things that they were aware of that they loved about Tyrese Halliburton was the fact that he wanted to be here. Go back a little further. De'Aaron Fox wanted to be here. You know? That stuff resonates.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, I think a little bit of it is the fact that there are pictures out there of Damian Lillard standing there in a Kings workout jersey.
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard.
That's weak-minded.
But who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Like,
who
cares?
There's pictures of them working out for all kinds of people. You know?
Yeah,
anyway.
It's not a bad thing. You hired people that didn't draft those people. Life goes on. At least you had them in your building. At least you considered them. At least you empowered you believed in people to make the right decisions. It didn't happen. No one has a crystal ball. Nothing's foolproof.
Yeah.
But to me, it speaks loudly if you've got Steph Curry wearing a Kings jersey in your gym, as you did. That's he didn't work out for the Warriors.
Just that you did your due diligence, pretty much.
Right, but it's also like you had those people and you were able to kick the tires on them. You were able to grab intel from them. You were able to
see who they are as human beings.
Yeah, man. Like all this
take
stuff.
them out to dinner and do some of the
Brenden,
little things.
it's not the draft.
Yeah.
It's not the draft. Think about 3 years from now when they're free agent, or 4 years from now if you make a trade. Like this is all stuff that plays
pre-built relationships.
This is what I'm talking about. You're getting them in your building. You're showing them how great this arena is. You're showing them that you have a strong foundation. You've got a great organization. There's a reason to be a King and be excited about it.
Yeah,
Stuff
state-of-the-art facility,
Right.
everything. Like the workout. I mean, you've been in the practice facility, but you haven't been in
incredible.
the backside of it. Yeah, you haven't been upstairs to the kitchen and the lounge areas and
Right.
the incredible fitness rooms that they have and the all of this stuff. Like you want to show off your building, you want to show off all that stuff. Yeah. And again, we killed this topic, and I think people are like, oh, you guys just are taking offense to it. More than anything else, yes, we are taking offense to it, but we're also just looking at it as like a massive missed opportunity. And
yeah, I'm sad for fans, man, because it's again, you're not getting content that you've had in years past. You're not getting
but you're still getting content. You're just not getting the content that you should be getting.
Yeah, it should be much more. It should be much more tangible, and you should be hearing from a lot of these prospects more than you are, rather than somebody pontificating about the draft or saying what they could or couldn't be, or what a fit is, or any of that. Or
having to watch a reporter from Indiana put up a video talking about a prospect, and you're like, oh, this is a really engaging interview.
Right.
And then he just happens to mention the Sacramento Kings at the end of it. Well, that's an Indiana Pacers video. The Indiana Pacers are bringing in everybody, and they're showing everybody. Good for them.
And I would hope if any people from the Kings are listening to this that they just agree with everything we've said, and just, maybe 2022 is an anomaly coming out of a pandemic, holes in your operations. We get it. But we haven't said anything that ain't true, So
we got better access during the pandemic when we got Zoom links from the NBA. Man.
Put them on a Zoom.
We got better access from the NBA than what's happening here. It is what it is. At the end of the day, again, I think it's just it's a missed opportunity to have your name in the newspaper every day, to have your name being talked about on social media all day long. We're still going to talk about you on the radio and on podcasts, and we're going to write about you. You're just not having any voice in what's being said. And again, at the end of the day, I think that's on them as much as it is anything else.
No more questions, Brenden. No more questions.
No more questions.
Yeah, we killed this one pretty solidly. The Kings did bring in Sohan. They Dyson Daniels is on his way into the building at some point. It keeps
Friday.
Moving around.
Just take Jaden Ivey. Goddamn.
It's probably going to be Friday. Finally, someone cursed other than me. Thank you, Brenden.
Yeah,
Sean.
Oh, Brenden muted himself.
Brenden just said something great and muted himself.
I did mute myself. Wow. I was saying, Sean, I've really appreciated you cursing on this podcast. I feel like I can do that a little bit more here and there. Yeah.
Of course you
can. I don't know. We still got to talk about this. I don't know.
I think I've only had one F-bomb, but I feel like it's okay that I can do it here.
Every once in a while I'll say something, but it's pretty rare. And the funny thing is you'd get me off the record and all I do is curse.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, people are like, oh, James is so X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, you have no clue.
No. It's like talking to Gary versus talking to Jerry.
Jerry is yes.
Jerry's
if I ever tell people stories about Jerry, they're like, "Are you serious? That's actually what he said." I'm like, "Yeah."
One of his favorite terms to use is shitbird. That's a Jerryism. He's a shitbird. Okay, so we've got Sohan and we've got Dyson coming to Sacramento. Is this just a white flag for the Kings, or should we start reading into the fact that
what do you mean?
there are some people that they are interviewing that probably won't go anywhere near number 4, and there's a chance for this team to move down.
Well,
No,
I think there's a good chance. It's
Tuesday
Tuesday overreactions. Yes. I think we already knew there was a good chance they'd be trading down. I think it's, to me, in my mind, it's just doing due diligence. Like, there's a decent chance that the Kings trade down. Say they end up at 16 with John Collins. Is it 16 or 14?
16.
16, that's what I thought.
Yeah, 13, 15 is Charlotte. I don't know who's 14. But
Say it's 10 in Kuzma. Again, not a deal I would do, but like I think there's a handful of scenarios that we've laid out previously that the Kings could trade down. I think it makes a lot of sense in this draft. Again, not a scenario that I would do, but I think there's a handful of scenarios that it makes sense. So I think it's more than important to do your due diligence on all these guys that can go a little bit later in the lottery. You never know what's going to become available. Say that somebody sitting at, 9 is San Antonio. Say they offer up some ridiculous package you never even thought was on the table. It's important to know, if you were at 9, who would you even take? So to me, it's just the Kings doing their due diligence and not any sign of they're going to trade back or anything like this. But you guys would know better than I. So, Sean, where are you at when you see them interviewing some of these guys?
It's going to be called episode 68, Due Diligence. Right?
Yeah.
Like we've said it a lot. No, you're just prepared for any scenario. There's no white flag waving. Again, I've said for weeks that I think they're going to trade out of this pick. I don't know what they're getting, but if you don't get what you want ultimately, you draft 4. And I think I think they know what they want at 4. I think there's probably a couple scenarios that are realistic, but if you're trading down, you want to know what you're getting. You want to be able to spend some time with these people. So, yeah, you're just preparing for several scenarios. And, they might already have deals with teams that are ready to go. Some of those may come to fruition. Others may fall out, Others may not transpire at all. So, you just got to be ready and kind of keep it very, very fluid. Everyone seems to think that once draft day hits how it'll go. There's always a surprise or two for the most part, but in terms of what they're preparing for on their end, I think they're going to be pretty lock solid and ready to go when this thing gets underway next week.
Yeah, I mean they have a conference room that has whiteboards all over the wall, and I think that one wall you got to have, the options that are going to happen at number 4. Like, who could fall? How could this happen? Who could move up above you and draft somebody that pushes someone down to you? You got your names listed, your Palos, your Jabaris, your Jaden Ivies, your
at least at 4, there's not many options, right? You could name 6 guys, and that's it.
Yeah, totally. But if then off of that, you need to have, if Jaden Ivey is here and we don't think he works with De'Aaron Fox, where do we go from here? Where are my 6 options? How do I move from here to here? What players are available? I mean, we're hearing guys like John Collins are available for a lottery pick. Heard that there's potential for like a deal at number 7. Well, is there a possibility the Kings could move from 4 to 6, pick up a really nice player from Indiana, and then flip that pick for Collins in 16? Like, that's what you have to start looking like. All of the different scenarios that play out, you've got to have like a million different options. What if someone moves up and takes somebody that you just didn't expect? What if OKC at number 2 says, well, we're going to take Jaden Ivey, and then Paolo Banchero goes number 3, and all of a sudden Chet Holmgren falls in your lap? These are all the scenarios that you have to, there's fingers crossed. These are all your scenarios that you've got to look at. But then on top of that, like, if I'm the Kings, they aren't 1 player away. They're not 2 players away. They might not even be 3 players away. They might need 4 or 5 different players, right? And so that means that one of the easiest ways to collect assets is, when you're at the number 4 pick, is to move back to 6, to move back from 6 to 10, to move back from 6 to 12, to move back from 12 to 16. Like, you can keep accumulating assets as you move backwards. And I know that sounds complicated and strange, and will it work, will it not? it doesn't matter when you're a team who realistically we can circle 2 players that we think that they're building around, and that's it. That means that you have 13 other roster spots that you need to be cognizant of. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean that Davion Mitchell is not part of some plan, or that Harrison Barnes or Dante DiVincenzo, they might all be part of some grand plan. But the fact is, you need at least 4 to 6 players that are better than the players you have right now, because you're not good enough and you keep missing the playoffs for 16 straight years. So I think that they're keeping options open, but at the same time, like, I hope that they're aggressive. I hope that they're movers and shakers all the way through, and it's like one of those drafts that you come out of it and you go, holy cow, the Kings were winners, and not like, oh, well, all right, that didn't go as planned, or this was a bad move and now we're demolishing them for that. I think it should be an interesting night.
The issue with needing 3 or 4 players is that you don't get all of them in one off season. Like, I think typically
you do if you're telling everyone you want to make the playoffs.
You do. No, I agree if that's a scenario that you're in, but I don't think that they should be in that scenario. And I know it's like a little bit deeper of a conversation, but like, I get why the Kings think they should be in play-in conversations. And when you look at their roster, it's like, especially when you're adding whatever person you consider to be the 4th pick, like, or whatever they turn that 4th pick into, trades and trading down or whatever it be, it's like, sure, the Kings should be in the play-in conversation, but what good is the play-in conversation? Like, you need to be able to progress past that. And that's why they need 3 or 4 guys, kind of like you're talking about. And I just think that it's a little short-sighted if you're focused on getting all 3 or 2, 3, 4 of those guys in one offseason. Like, get your best one this offseason and then get the next the year after.
No, both things can be true. Brenden, you just saw it happen. What happened in the middle of the season? They got a franchise-altering piece.
Did they?
Yes.
Wasn't Tyrese already a franchise-altering piece? Then they trade one for another?
Domantas Sabonis is the most talented player De'Aaron Fox has ever played with. He is now the face of the franchise. Domantas Sabonis is arguably the best player on the team. Tyrese Halliburton may have been, but Domantas Sabonis is. So, I mean, again, you're completely altering the direction of your franchise. It's not just the draft. It's not just the offseason. Both things can be true. Yes, you need these pieces. Yes, your goal is to make the playoffs. Maybe contend for that play-in tournament if you want to consider that. Yeah, it was that way last year. But your goal is to win a championship. Like, that's the part where people will laugh
Are you sure that's their goal?
That should be the goal. I mean,
it should be, but does it feel like it?
No, but again, that's to the broader discussion. Whereas it's not just playoffs, it's not just the play-in tournament. Like, certainly these are more achievable goals, but that's why I say it's like, who gives a damn about the play-in tournament last year after you made that piece, because you had so many holes within your roster.
It feels like they do. To be honest, I'm sorry.
This was a move to set yourself up for the next year, so it's, yeah, you went for the play-in tournament, but you still had so many holes on your roster that it wasn't going to work, and then the guys get injured. And again, the play-in tournament, whatever, you get there, you snap the streak, whatever. Play-in tournament doesn't snap a playoff drought. It doesn't, unless you make the playoffs. You have to win the play-in tournament to get into the playoffs, and then that snaps the playoff drought. So,
well, and Brenden, I agree with you to a certain extent. I mean, here's the deal, though. It's kind of like what we've been harping on, the whole thing about the media thing. That's not what we would do. Like, if we were controlling what was happening with the draft and the draft workouts, we would open up the doors and, like, be transparent and let you interview anyone that you want, because that's a good way to drum up business and build excitement and all that stuff. When it comes to what we think that we would do versus what they're going to do or what their mandate is, like, there's an edict right now from ownership to get to the playoffs. And does that mean that you do make short-sighted moves? Like, yes, that means that they probably are going to do short-sighted moves. Moves that typically, if you're at the number 4 pick and you have an option to potentially grab a future star versus adding a couple of really good rotational players by moving back, like, I would agree with you. If I'm running the Kings, I'm looking at a franchise-altering player. If there's a potential star there at number 4, then I've got to go that way.
Right.
But that's not. We're playing within their rules, sort of.
Sustained success is the ultimate goal. Ultimate goal is championship. Achievable goal, playoffs. But the goal beyond that is to try to.
There is, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah,
Brendan's pixelating on us.
What is success, though? What is success, Sean?
But I don't know what the hell he just said. But to say that sustained success is what the goal is, again, it's not going to happen overnight. So if you're a front office, you want to be able to show improvement, and it starts somewhere. You got to start somewhere. But again, to what you're speaking of, you're going to tackle the draft. You're tackling the draft before you even think of what our attainable goals are for next year. You got to get through the draft first. You got to get through free agency first. You got to get through the offseason first, summer league, all that stuff. You can project all you want, but you got to take the small steps first. So my point is what you said, Brenden, is both can be achievable. Like, yeah, the goals next year, again, and I have to warn people, when you bring in a first-year head coach, first year to your organization, not first year overall, but a first-year coach to your organization, typically it doesn't always go great. So there's some growing pains, if you will. Sometimes you don't improve upon the year previous. I think that they will, just based off of some of the pieces they already have, but that's not a guarantee. So you kind of want to brace people for that, because certainly it doesn't always go that way when you bring in a new head coach.
Yeah, I think we're in an interesting discussion because...
Do we still have Brenden?
I don't think we...
Can you guys hear me okay?
Now you're there.
There you are.
Okay. You're...
Oh, there you went.
Oh, there he went. Okay. We're going to hide this for a sec. Brenden will be right back.
After
He'll be back
messages.
After these messages. It's funny. Both of us thought the same exact thing.
Brenden needed to cool off, I think. He's getting pissed.
Well, no, he is. And I get it because, I understand why. Oh, he looks... Hang on. Here we go. There we go.
Am I back?
You're back. Yeah, Brenden, I get your frustration and the why.
Well, can I counter Sean real quick? What is the definition of success? Is kind of where my question is.
To me,
sustained
success.
Is success making the playoffs? Like just first round exits every single year? Is that success?
Well, if you can sustain playoff appearances, okay.
Even if it's first round and you're out every year.
Well, how long are you talking about? Like you have to start somewhere.
You do.
I get that, but what if your ceiling isn't past the first round? What if you're building a roster that can never get past the first round because you're so focused on even making it to the first round?
Yeah, no, I get it. It's what I've said for the past year. It's a flawed goal. Like, getting there is a goal because you haven't been there in 16 years. So you can call that a goal. It's flawed because half the teams in the league make the playoffs. So it's not good enough, but it's improvement upon where you've been for the past 16 years as a franchise. So it's sorely needed. The goal is to have sustained playoff success, ones that you've shown improvement from. So if it's a first-round exit, Brenden, this year, next year, whatever, 3 years from now, you're into the Western Conference Finals, well, that would be sustained playoff success, right?
But Sean, they're not young enough.
Well, Brenden,
all the guys that they're putting all their stock into right now are already at the peak of their careers.
But you're looking at them right now. You're looking at them right now. Things, again, how many things change every single day in the NBA? You can be the Phoenix Suns, who are the dreck of the league and in the NBA Finals the next year. So
you had a 36-year-old, and all of a sudden you're in the NBA Finals.
Right.
But that's the outlier, no? What other teams are like the Suns?
But again, there's a lot of teams that are awfully run, but the Suns were a laughingstock for a long time. They have terrible ownership. They had so much turmoil and craziness. They get Chris Paul and a decent head coach, and all of a sudden things change. So,
but getting Chris Paul isn't nothing. That's an outlier trade in my mind.
The questions you're asking are very much indicative of the way the fan base would think, and I think that's good. But what you have to understand is, you have to show improvement. You have to show sustained playoff growth, right? That's the ultimate. That's what they would hope to achieve, is to be able to, year after year after year, contend, be a contender, right? And if you can show improvement year after year after year, that's the goal. What you're looking at right now is, say, how do they get there? Well, that's the unknown. They make a franchise-altering move last year to be able to position themselves to kick in the door of that postseason, and all of a sudden, here we are, right? Now you want to build upon that, but you're still not there yet. How do they get there? My point is, you've got the draft, you've got trades, you've got free agency, and a whole wealth of offseason that you're just now getting. You just got a head coach. So this is now your building base. 2 years from now, Brenden, if they don't keep Domantas Sabonis, right? Well, now all of a sudden it could be a tear down, rebuild, all that stuff again.
The whole thing crumbles.
You're right. So there's a lot of question marks, and you're asking me how I define success. I define success as sustained postseason appearances, hopefully ones that you improve from year after year after year.
And
maybe
build
you
towards
take
something.
right. You're building towards something. So that doesn't mean you get there, but that to me would be the expectation of anybody who goes into a front office to build upon something. And if you don't reach it there, well, then you know what? This is a tough business, and you got decisions to make.
Yeah, and I would say this too. Like, if you look at the basic core, let's just talk about the guys who could be here. We're talking about Davion, we're talking about De'Aaron, we're talking about Domantas, and let's just throw in Dante DiVincenzo, who's also 25. Like, if you're 25 is the beginning of their peak of the career. That's not the end of they're not even close to like this sort of the bubble, the arc of their career. They're at the beginning of their prime, right? The next 5 to 7 years is their prime. Well, that's a window. That's a window that you can work with and that you can possibly add pieces to, and you can possibly get better. And just because it's your group that you're building on now doesn't mean that you can't add a 20-year-old in a draft that ends up being way better than you thought he would be, or, you're still going to have first-round picks going forward. And again, if you add a guy like John Collins, that's another 24, 25-year-old guy. If you go out and you make a move for Kevin Huerter or something, like, these are all guys that fit that same window of guys that would move forward together. So while you didn't draft them together like the Golden State Warriors did all in one, 2-year period where they get Draymond, they get Steph, they get Clay, all of them at the same time.
All three of them, by the way, who are in their 32 to 34 years of age.
Yeah, and still, probably winning a championship. Yeah, probably winning a championship. But at the same time, we can even go back to the original OKC/Seattle build, right, where they get Russell, Harden, and Durant all within a 2 to 3 year window. That isn't where the Kings are going to be able to go at this point. They're kind of stuck in the middle, and I agree they shaved a couple of years off of what their end could be, but you could still, if in the right scenario, De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis could play a decade together here without any problems and be really good. And if you put the right pieces around them, you could have something. And I'm not willing to say that it's a championship foundation, but I'm also not going to say that it can't be, that they can't build something around it the right way. I think drafting a 20-year-old that could be a star at number 4 makes so much sense, because you're going to build up around him as well, and you hope that he'll be good. But at the same time, at some point you got to stop hoping. You have to know who you're getting and what they are as players, and hopefully they can improve what you're actually doing on the court.
I agree.
The Kings killed Brenden. The Kings have killed him.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point where I'm broken. I'm only 2.5, 1.5 to 3, somewhere in between years in, and I think they're starting to break me. I just think at this point in the draft, they need more top end talent, and I think it's what we've been saying the whole time. To me, you can't get role players when you're just aiming for the 8th to 10th seed. I just don't see the point.
Yeah.
To me, I understand it's been 16 years of postseason, no postseason basketball. I get it. The fan base is gonna love 1 year of making the playoffs. If it's 3 years in a row of first round exits, maybe this is just me. Tell me if you think I'm wrong with this. I think the fan base is going to get tired of that. You need to have your mind set, your goal set on being higher than that.
Yeah, and to that point, Brenden, they were. You go back to when the heyday of this team, and you reach a Western Conference Finals, but then you remember what comes after that. You're in the playoffs and you're sustaining the success, but you're going downhill. You're going the opposite way now. And people were like, okay, well, what good is a first round exit? To your point, why not get top tier talent? We have to tank. We have to now draft these players, and that hasn't worked out. So, no, I hear it. There's different ways of going about it, but to your observation of adding those role players, they were trying to develop what they deem as their top tier talent, and then if those guys don't work out, you're trying to use those as bait to grab a top tier talent. So they think that they have a top tier talent in guys like DeMarcus Cousins at the time, in guys like De'Aaron Fox now, and then how does that shape out? How does that you get different regimes,
Sean,
and you don't have the stability, and that's how the vision that's how it crumbles, right? Like you have ultimately you draft a person that you think is going to be a top tier talent in someone like DeMarcus Cousins, and then you trade him for somebody where you're not getting top tier talent in return, except for now drafting his replacement in someone like De'Aaron Fox, who you think can be a top tier talent. Doesn't always work, man. It doesn't.
I mean, what are you defining as top tier talent? Like, I love De'Aaron Fox. I thought
Well,
DeMarcus Cousins were really
yeah.
good. They're
But
not
the-
number one options on a championship team. And I know that,
No.
like, not every... every
but when
team
you-
should have those aspirations. Like, Monty McNair is talking about how we're trying to go above and beyond just a playoff
But
appearance.
Brenden, you're talking about when they drafted, at the time, they think that these guys can be stars in the league. That's why they drafted them. They drafted them with top 5 picks.
Yeah. But what about right
It's the
now?
Same, it's the same fucking thing right now. You're a 4th pick. You had top 5 picks then. You're drafting the guy you think can be the star, who can be championship level players, and that was their definition of those picks. Marvin Bagley included with number 2. It doesn't work out. So my point is, it's the same thing now. You could draft Jaden Ivey, and he may not become a star. But it doesn't mean you draft him thinking he's not going to be a star. You draft him because you thought he would be a star.
So
thought
do
he
you
would be that
do you
top.
do you think they're operating right now with the idea of like our ceiling is beyond a first round exit, or are they just aiming for a whatever this offseason looks like? They're just aiming for a postseason appearance. Because that's where my issue is. Where if right now you're focused on a postseason appearance, that's fine. But you need to make sure there is a ceiling beyond that. And I don't know if that feels like the case right now.
As James would tell you, I think they would I think you can have aspirations for both. But you treat the draft as if you're picking a player, you're going to pick the best player available for you, who you think is the star. Okay, if it helps you right away, great. If it doesn't, or you dangle your pick for a win now player, as they would call it, and you have determined that this trade that you are going to make will make you incrementally better now, right? So that's the dilemma. Do we think someone like Jaden Ivey will be this superstar talent? Because if you do, then you draft him. But if you don't think he's going to be that type of player, and you feel you can move out of 4 and get you something that's better for now, that will ultimately lead you to that road that you're projecting to get you to that promised land, so to speak, that's the move you make.
Yeah, and I would say this too. Like, we can only predict what a team would look like with De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, and John Collins. We have no idea what that team will look like. Like, on paper, they could look like a 40-plus win team.
I mean, do we know that they're not getting out of the first round, though?
Well, but here's the
But
problem.
you don't know
I'll
what
flip
your
that
team
around
looks
on
like
you.
yet. You don't know
But
what your team looks like.
I'll also flip that around on you. Do we know that they're not a 50-win team and that they couldn't? We don't know that. Like, you can think that, but the fact is, we saw sample size with De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, and you're like, oh, okay, I know exactly who I would put around these guys. And then you add in a player that has potential to go back to a 20-10 player. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the answer is, but what the answer can't be always is to just bank on young players and hope that they get better, and then hope that you hit it with the lottery every single time. Because that's what,
There's
again,
no guarantee that's going to work either.
You go back to the Phoenix Suns. How many times did they draft guys like Dragan Bender and Alex Len and all these guys in the top 5? The guy they built around was like the 13th pick in the draft.
And they got it right quicker than the Kings, though, no? Like, I feel like
By
it's
getting-
quicker
by-
to... I feel like it's
getting
quicker
Chris
to be
Paul.
at the top of the draft every single time than it is to be 8th, 9th, 10th every single time.
They didn't draft Chris Paul. They drafted Devin Booker.
You're not wrong. They got that trade right. Like, they maximized on value, and I think the Kings are in a position where they could do the same thing. But, like, the Chris Paul trade is an outlier right now. You know, as much as like people like to point to Phoenix, I don't know. That feels like the outlier to me. Like, Memphis turned it around quick with a core that, in my mind, like Morant and Jaren Jackson aren't that far off from a Fox and Sabonis duo, but it's all their complementary pieces, really good coaching that kind of make all that click. Like, Miami's not a supremely talented team, but they have phenomenal coaching. They have really good shooting around their core guys, and they complement those primary players. Like, I don't know. I guess
I don't disagree with anything you said there, but again, I think you paint with a very broad brush. Like, we all know the way to get better is through the draft. But you don't necessarily have to draft your players. Like, the Celtics have built through the draft. The Warriors have built through the draft. You can do all of those things. Like,
they did draft their players, though.
Yes,
like, you have to draft your assets at least, right?
Yeah, well, yes, or you can move them, or you can trade them before you even attach a name to them.
Yeah,
I would even say, like, the 1998 Kings build. You drafted Jason Williams. You got Peja Stojakovic to come over from overseas, but the difference makers in that offseason were very clear. They traded for Chris Webber, who was like a depreciated asset at that point. He was like a near teardown. I mean, he had not had a good couple of years leading up to that. And then you signed Vlade Divac, like an aging center. You found synergy. So I think that there's ways to find that without it being always through the draft, you know?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
It's
I couldn't
it's
hit the
tough.
mute button quick enough. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that it's tough, but at the same time, they did just add a coach that possibly could put a structure in place that would help them lead to something better. A coach that won 61.6%.
To the first round, though. Like, I'm just very concerned and growing more concerned as this process goes on that, like, are they going to seriously consider taking Keegan Murray at 4 because they can't trade back to 5 or 6? And you're taking Keegan Murray because you're so focused on making the postseason right now. And how are you ever getting out of the first round?
Those are a lot of conclusions that you're jumping to.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the way. Like, let's pretend they draft Keegan Murray. That doesn't mean that they feel he's the most NBA ready to play right now. They feel he's the best player available.
Fair enough.
Period. That has the most potential. You know.
What I would say this
Are you sure though?
And I would probably disagree with that for sure. Like, especially if someone like Jaden Ivey was there. Again, your opinions aren't facts, just like mine aren't either. So like,
why do you think that? Do you think they took Davion, factoring in a little bit of his immediate contribution?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Ooh.
I mean,
I would have said yes.
Because he's still playing behind De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton. If they thought that he was going to help right away, he'd be playing in front of those guys.
And you think they were okay with taking a backup at that pick?
I think that they liked what Davion Mitchell, as a winning basketball player who's devoted to defense, projected for with them. I think they looked at it and said, you know, if either one of these guys have value, and let's not forget, De'Aaron Fox as a max contract player, you know, if things don't work out and we're an 8th seed, you probably don't want to have a max contract player on your team.
I also think that they looked at Davion and thought that if we draft Davion, he is ready to play now, and we can use either Tyrese Halliburton or De'Aaron Fox to go get someone else. I think that was one of their views.
And I think they thought he was the best player at that point to pick.
Yeah, I mean,
I really do. I like that. There's nothing around them that makes me think any different. Again, their opinions.
The definition of best player is really tough. The definition of best player is really tough.
But if they think he's their best player available, again, their opinions are not our opinions. You know what I mean? So, like, and our opinions don't mean that they're facts. Like,
yeah.
You're just prognosticating like any other idiot at the draft who wants to go out and find their player, right? You might become married to a player you really like, and if they pass on him, great. That doesn't make him an idiot. Time will tell and make him an idiot. and more times than not, the organization has been idiots. But this is their path that they're, you know, we have no pressure on us. We can sit there and say, yeah, I think Marvin Bagley's going to be a hell of a player for the Kings. it doesn't work out, it makes me look like an idiot, but I'm not the one that has the job of having to pick the team.
Do you trust that their path is focused on beyond just ending the playoff drought? I guess is my question.
I do, because you still have to build your team. Like nobody's building their team for strictly one playoff appearance.
You don't think they are? You don't think there's any chance that the team is so focused on ending this playoff drought that is the priority right now?
Hey, I'll tell you this. If you took number 4 and traded it right now, straight up, for John Collins, I guarantee you the next 3 years, you have a better chance of making the playoffs and potentially growing from a first round than you do if you draft anyone. I can also tell you that we could talk about Keegan Murray all we want right now. Like, I've been very, very low on Keegan Murray because I think Keegan Murray has a ceiling. I'll still tell you this. There's a good chance, not probably better than 50-50 chance, that he is a better NBA player, has a better NBA career than Jaden Ivey. Because he's at least going to be we know that there's a ceiling and that there's a floor, but there's a floor, and we don't know.
He's not going to bust.
Yeah, he's not going to bust, and I don't think that you should draft that way. But I can also tell you that, like, we want to pontificate about how passing on Jaden Ivey would just be the most criminal thing ever. Trading for John Collins makes you a better team today without any question, and he's 24 years old and he's under contract for 5 years or 4 years. Like, that's not a short-sighted move. It's a move that it has high risk reward because, you could be passing on a star, but you could be passing on a bust. You could be passing on a guy who doesn't develop beyond like a 12 to 14 point a game guy and who's an inefficient scorer and who's one of the worst defensive players in the league, for a guy that can help you today, help you tomorrow, help you the next year, help you the next year after that, and may become part of a core that becomes something much greater. And so, like, I think we do think a lot about draft picks in a weird way where we sell ourselves at, they can't miss, or this is a top 4. It's probably a top 4 of high-end talent, but after that, there are moves that you can make within that have, like, long-reaching implications for the future of your team. You draft Mathurin over AJ Griffin, one of them busts and one of them becomes a really good NBA player. You made a mistake.
Look at the Chicago Bulls. Like, that's kind of what the Kings kind of seem like they're doing. The Bulls end up with Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic from Orlando. They acquired the talent. It's not necessarily somebody they built through the draft. They've got a couple pieces they've drafted, like Patrick Williams and Kobe White and things like that. But, ultimately they're trying to piece it together. Now, they're going to try to find sustained playoff success after not experiencing it for a good while. There's no blueprint. But again, I think we all know that building through the draft is your likely source of getting there. I think what the Kings have done is set themselves up to do something similar to what the Bulls have done, and then you hope to be able to sustain it.
And I know, Brenden, you could say, but the Bulls look like they might be not
right.
Piece this thing together. That's the risk. It's always the risk that you get there once.
And they look okay, but they still have upside in Patrick Williams.
Right.
But look at Minnesota. They did everything to get there one time. Anthony Edwards.
But Anthony Edwards is the best player on that team. Cat has his argument.
The first time. I'm talking about the first time.
But does the first time, and they made it one time, and then they were knocked out.
I get that.
Did the fan base actually feel that much better of oh, great, we didn't set a historically bad record for how many years in a row we missed the playoffs? Does that, I know you're in the record books forever, but should that really matter that much? Do you think Monty and Wes should be thinking about the playoff drought?
Yeah, but
in my mind, it shouldn't matter to them.
Right.
But I'm sure it does to ownership. It's part of the fan base and everything.
You're also talking about a team that missed on Andrew Wiggins and all of a sudden is thriving in the NBA Finals. So it's again, you're going to have your misses along the way. What I'm saying is I see the big picture, but don't paint with too broad of a brush. look at the draft for what it is. It's the draft. You're trying to make your team better. You're going to pick the best player available that you project who's going to be your star, or you're going to trade it to help yourself long-term elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
You're still using it for the same thing, but it's more than that's just the draft. You can't just be hyper-focused on just the draft in terms of talking about your success, wins, and loss record long-term. It's not fair because it's not the same thing. You're hoping to land a star, whether it be draft, free agent, or trade. There's other ways of building your team. And again, you use the Timberwolves for an example. Like, yeah, they finally hit on Anthony Edwards, right? Well, who else did they miss on? What happened with Chris Dunn?
Yeah.
What happened?
Right.
What
traded-
happened with Lauri Markkanen?
But then they
What
hit on upside in the draft, right? And that's what made it
No,
work. Like, you look at the
no.
Warriors, like, the upside in the
No.
draft is what made it work.
Look, you're talking about a team since 14. Zach LaVine, Glenn Robbins, your first-round picks. Zach LaVine, Karl Anthony Towns, Chris Dunn, Lauri Markkanen, Josh Okogie, Jarrett Culver, who was 6th, by the way, in 2019, and that's disgusting. Then you get Anthony Edwards in 2020. Then you get...
Hey, Sean, you're
Pope-
missing
yeah.
the fact that they traded Wiggins and gave up first-round picks to go get
Right.
But
Russell.
so
Right.
so all it takes is one. No, like, Anthony Edwards is the one turning that franchise around. Like, I know
Right.
that Cat is a great, a freaking phenomenal piece. Cat is an all-star. I think he's a
Yeah,
really good
they
player.
drafted him, too.
Yeah. And
But Brenden-
Anthony
Brenden-
Edwards is the one changing that franchise.
Right, and you're gushing about Anthony Edwards, who might not get you out of the second round. Like just in all fairness, like
He might not, but he could get you
still don't
to
know.
the second round. Keegan Murray is never getting you to the second round.
Brendan, you don't know that.
You're right.
That.
He could be
Yeah.
better than expected.
Right,
But
not
but-
should. What we learn about? What we learn about last week? Not should.
I don't know if I actually learned
But
anything,
these
Sean,
are-
to be honest.
no one has a freaking crystal ball to know what absolutely is going to happen. There's no absolutes. There's too
Yeah.
many variables. And
so
guys,
we should
guys
just
are-
trust them, or what?
Well,
Like,
they're the
No,
like,
no.
we have-
Yeah, because,
Jay,
like, look,
you
dude,
need-
for...
Brendan needs some help. He needs a hug. Someone go hug
is
Brendan.
there not? No. So, I mean, we've been talking about the draft forever, so I'm going a little bit crazy, I will admit. But, like, is there not, like, I'm going to throw random percentages for the sake of conversation. Say there's a 75% chance that Jaden Ivey becomes an all-star. Like, I think there's an okay chance. There's, like, a 20% chance that Keegan Ivey is an all-star, or Keegan Murray
Ivey.
is an all-star.
Okay.
Keegan Ivey. Keegan
I'll
Murray's an
tell you
all-star
this,
and
though.
changes
Hey.
the direction of your franchise. You know, like,
Brendan, the Timberwolves drafted number 1 3 times.
Yeah, bro.
Like,
Come
they
on,
drafted
man.
number 1 3 times, and they didn't hit. And
Look at
then
the
they drafted
Cavaliers.
number
How-
6, and they
How
drafted...
many times the Cavaliers win the lottery?
But you keep
Yeah.
picking for all-star, and eventually you do hit. You have to hit on one of your draft picks. And
But-
if you're picking
but
Keegan
Brendan-
Murray,
Brendan, the
Brendan's
Utah
lost it,
Jazz, the Utah
I've
Jazz
lost it.
hit on an all-star at pick number 13 in Donovan Mitchell. They
that's
hit on
fine.
but what I'm saying is that just because a guy gets drafted in the top 4, it doesn't really mean that he's going to be anything. Like, the percentages of top picks that become all-stars is higher than the number 12 pick that becomes all-star.
But the point
Kings
is, you
owe
pick
you
for
an
upside.
apology.
You pick
The
for
Kings-
upside.
The Kings
No,
owe
yeah,
you an
guys, this is me
apology, bro.
slowly breaking. You guys both have a
Yeah.
decade plus. I'm like 2.5 years in. So this is like the witness of
We-
everybody
we
watching
done
me
broke
slowly break. Yeah, but like, in my mind, my issue is if the Kings, and I don't know if this is the case, but if the Kings are so focused on just breaking the playoff drought, that is an issue to me. Because then I think you're not building a roster that ever has a chance of getting out of the first round.
Okay,
And
well,
as
I'll
much as the
answer this.
fan base is tired of 16 years of not making the postseason, in my mind, and tell me if I'm wrong, you guys would know better than me, the fan base would be tired of making the first round for 3 years in a row and not getting out of it.
Step 1, you focus on making the playoffs because
Right,
that's
man.
something you haven't done in 16 years. Step 2,
But if
you
you're focused
focus
on step one,
making-
can you never
You have-
never
yeah,
reach
you
have
step
to get
2 if
somewhere.
you're too focused on step 1 though?
No,
Well, that's
no, 'cause
possible, but-
you have to
but-
get somewhere.
Yeah, but it's also possible that if they've proven that they never can get to step 1. They can never get to step 1. And that's because they've done exactly what you think. They keep drafting for talent in the top end of the draft. And I would like to say that, it should have worked out by now. It should have worked out by now. every other team has figured out a way not to have a 16-year playoff drought. They've figured out a way to make the playoffs.
To be in the upper
competent
half of the league.
The upper half of the league just once.
Right. Just once.
Yeah.
And by the way, I want to point out, because I said Wiggins. I mean, he was drafted by Cleveland, number 1, by the way.
But traded on draft day. Yeah, he never played for
Cleveland. Just in case some of the McCrechtersons want to,
Yeah,
they'll be there.
That team has had all kinds of top tier talent. And I'll even say this, in this year's draft, if you're drafting number 1, I guarantee you there's like an 80% chance that the number 1 pick in this draft will not be the best player out of this draft.
Right.
There's too many variables in this specific draft.
There's so much that happens, and you have to remember, guys are products of their environment a lot.
Yeah.
And like, I hear what you're saying, man. Like, we're all there, and by the way, Anthony Edwards was amazing in Hustle too. If you haven't seen it on Netflix.
Oh man,
kind of a fun movie, but
it was spectacular.
Yeah. But even him, like, yeah, he looks like a star. But the reality is, they may not get out of the first round. You know what I mean? I still think he's a star. I think he could be an absolute great player, but that's how guys will be judged. And at the end of the day, he won't. If he's 27, 28, and he still hasn't gotten out of the first round of whatever team he's on, then how do we look at it? It's tough, bro.
But
I get your frustration.
Hypotheticals, right? Like.
Well, yeah,
but that's all the draft is.
But that's why
I think that there's a. But Anthony Edwards is the reason that they could get out of the first round. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I think the fact that they have Cat as well, the fact that they have another top tier pick.
No, you're right. Like, and they have good coaching.
But Brenden, that's also a hypothetical. There's no.
But really, the Kings' hypothetical, their ceiling of their hypothetical is the first round. The ceiling of these other hypotheticals is past the first round.
It's
you know what I mean?
Hypothetical. There's no absolutes. There's no absolutes until you know whether or not somebody's the bust or not.
But is there a world where you can see the Kings getting out of the first round?
Yes. Wait,
sure. Next year?
Eventually, maybe.
Like,
sure.
I don't know.
Say it's not one of the top 3.
We don't know what the team looks like.
You're right, but okay. So say it's not one of the top 3 plus Ivy that we expect. Chet, Jabari, Paulo, and Ivy. Let's say they take Keegan at 4, right?
Okay.
Can you see a world where they're out of the second round within the next 3 seasons?
Sure.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, the NBA landscape changes all the time.
Well, and I'll tell you this too, Brenden. If that's where you're at number 4 and you decide that you've got to do something different and that you have to maximize, if you can't maximize your value at that point, then that's on you. So the Kings, if they are sitting at number 4 and they don't want to take Ivy, and Ivy is the guy who falls to them, and they want to take Keegan Murray, they have to maximize value of that pick, and they need to move to a spot where they can still get the player they want and get something. Even if it's something small, they have to maximize their assets. And so I'm hoping that that's what they're doing.
When the Clippers landed Kawhi Leonard and Paul George,
which might be tough.
Where did you think, like, you couldn't find many media people that didn't think that they'd be an NBA Finals appearance, and they still haven't. They haven't gone deep into the playoffs at all.
Yeah.
And so many people were ready to hand them the trophy.
That's
so
the Kings.
Again,
the Kings aren't landing Kawhi. Either one of the but the Kings aren't landing either one. Like, they couldn't get one of those caliber of guys in free agency or trade. I'm
just using it as an example. In trade, they could. They
could. And they also, like, it doesn't matter, like, this draft specifically. It's possible that you don't find that player at number 4 or at number 1. That you don't find a complete franchise changer.
So my question for you guys, I think this is where it gets interesting with 4. Say Ivy busts. Ivy's not that guy. Do you think that the Kings get more crap for taking Ivy at 4 and him not working? Or, I'm realizing quickly this is tough wording. Say Ivy doesn't work. Do you think that
you're saying
it's
who's at
forgiven?
Fault? It's
forgiven if he's taken 4 because it's like they tried for upside, or like if he goes at 5 and actually works.
Level, not in Sacramento. He won't be forgiven in Sacramento.
You don't think the fan base would be like, we tried to go for top end talent, or is it like, I don't know how to view this, because if Ivy doesn't work,
you won't be around to see the next day. You won't.
Fair enough.
You won't be around to see the next day.
Well,
I mean, that's Sacramento. You're not.
And who cares about who's...
And there really is a chance that Ivy doesn't work. I don't love Ivy. He could not work.
All of them could not work.
And Benedict Mathurin could be a better player than Ivy.
Right. And
AJ Griffin could be a better player than Ivy. And, like,
what's the
there's plenty
expression
of
about
options.
If my aunt had a whatever, she'd be my uncle. Like, there's a lot of... There's so many ifs, man. You just got to... They try to position themselves. That's all you can do. Gather up all these picks. That's the easiest way to do it. And
make
draft
the best
them, move them,
educated,
whatever.
the educated move that
I think
you can do.
I think what fans also really don't understand is, it's 16 years, but with this front office, it's not. Like, they're not on the hook for 16 years. They're not on the hook for faults that Vlade Divac's had. And so far, since they've been here, I think they've drafted pretty well. I think they've made decent trades. I don't think their free agent signings have been good. I think that's where the struggle is. But so far, I think this front office gets a little bit of a passing grade based off their draft history and trades they've made. And I think we lost Brenden.
Yeah,
He's done with this. He said,
"Yeah, there's a lot of craziness that can happen here, and I think as people who've covered the team for a little while, like, we get caught up in the craze as much as anyone else. So, anyway, yeah, it's a good discussion.
It is.
Yeah, I think, and Brenden, you're frozen. So there's nothing we can do. We can hear your audio mumbling a little bit in the background, but let's hope that Brenden hasn't gone like full Don piano and he's not bashing his head against the the keyboard, just like.
He just needs to. I remember he tweeted something the other day saying that how many players were like weighed less than Chet Holmgren or something. And I was like, Brenden, just go enjoy your weekend, bro. Like, just go find something to do. I was telling him about your tweet about Brenden has returned. I don't know if he can hear us or participate. Where I was like, Brenden, step away, man. Just go enjoy the weekend.
I picked up on it.
Yeah. All right. So let's just run through.
I think my internet
thoughts.
likes humor.
Yeah, the business of basketball today. I think we covered it there. It's the debate over everything that happens. So that was the business of basketball. Let's cut straight to final thoughts. Do you guys have any final thoughts? Sean, we'll start with you.
Yeah, man. Today was a good day, and not because I just get to talk with you clowns, but I actually started the day by interviewing Ice Cube, which was a lot of fun. Big 3 starts this weekend, and the interesting part about it is it'll eventually come through Sacramento. It's not going to be this year. They're still kind of operating like they're in a bubble, but there's so many former Kings that have so many Sacramento connections and even some Warrior connections that are involved in that. So it was kind of fun to catch up with him, and I'm going to share that interview, I think, either later today or maybe tomorrow. But yeah, that's fun. And also, I know we mentioned in the last podcast, I had a lot of people ask me about what we call the SPDL, which is the Sac Summer League. There's only 2 games remaining, so it's Wednesday and Friday. And if you go out to Wednesday's game at halftime, Eric Armstead will be there doing meet and greets with fans at halftime. So I think it's like autographs and pictures. Tickets are like $7. And if you want to go, I've told people it was Fortune High School in Elk Grove, which is true. But if you put that in your GPS, you might get lost. So you have to put the address, which is 10420 Bighorn Boulevard. 10420 Bighorn Boulevard, because it's a brand new charter school in Elk Grove. And trust me, man, when you get to the end of Bighorn, you're like, it can't be out here. And then soon enough, it appears on the horizon, and there it is, this nice, sparkling, brand new school out in the middle of nowhere. So it's kind of fun. Go check it out.
All right, Brenden, you have any final thoughts? Since we broke you today, both your internet and your spirit, your soul.
Yeah, I'm officially broken. Joe Johnson, Sean just made me realize, might get a championship ring this season if Boston ends up pulling through. He played one game with the Celtics this year, so well deserved. Yeah.
So could South Castillo?
Yeah, Very well deserved. Clearly, I'm a little concerned that the Kings are very focused on the postseason and not thinking further ahead than that, if I haven't made that obvious. But no, that's where I'm at. I think that I'm getting a little crazy at this point because we're talking about the draft nonstop. So I'm ready for them to make the pick and we can move on from here.
Yeah. I think there's been too much prognosticating, and we've all read too many things. Just remember that when you read all these things, you ever seen Training Day, Brendan? I mean, there's the movie with Ethan Hawke and Denzel Washington. Probably not.
Yes.
Okay. So he says yes.
I have seen it.
When he opens up, he looks at the newspaper and he says, 80% of this is BS or whatever. Like, that's how you have to look at the draft. So if you have your mind made up that they're going to take a guy that you don't like and you think that there's no care, that doesn't mean that they're going to take that guy. You know what I mean? Like, there's other ways of doing. They're going to have their opinions, and likely they're different than the ones that we have. So just wait to see what happens and then pull it apart.
I think what Sean's saying too there is, like, even in this draft, like, the top 4 is like a creation of us. Like, it's a creation of the media, that there's a strict top 4 and that there cannot be any variance from the top 4. That's strictly draft experts and media members who are pontificating and creating a legitimate, like, what we believe can be this thing. And we'll get information from agents, we'll get information from teams, we'll get information from watching film of players and everything else. But at the end of the day, like, it's a creation. Like, the top 4 could be completely different than what we thought. I mean, we've seen drafts where guys who are considered top 4 picks fall all the way to number 12. I remember Noah Vonleh, up until the day before the draft, was considered the number 4 pick in the draft. Would he fall to number 9 or number 11 or, And then guys like Dion Waiters, who were considered the 20th pick in the draft. Doesn't work out for anyone, has some mystique about him, and he goes number 4 overall and pushes Thomas Robinson to the Kings. Like, the draft is such an unprecise science. Hashim Thabit was taken number 2 overall, and number 3 was James Harden.
Yeah.
Number 4 was Tyreek Evans. Number 5 was Rubio or Johnny Flynn. It doesn't matter. Neither one of them were top 5 and 6 picks. And number 7, Steph Curry. Like, Giannis Antetokounmpo. That is one of the worst drafts. You go back and you look at that draft. It is so horrible until you get to Giannis and you're like, oh, he saves the draft. Victor Oladipo forever was the best player out of that draft. And then there's a bunch of guys who, either aren't in the league or don't deserve to be in the league or are hanging on by a thread in the top 10. Like, the draft is such unprecise science. And I know we've sold ourselves on the fact that Jaden Ivey is a top 4 pick. He could not work out at all. And, we could discuss why he wouldn't work out, but we've already gone like almost an hour and 45, so we got to rip the Band-Aid off this thing. Let's see. Final thoughts from me. I had a final thought, but the pug kept barking. I guess everyone left me here, and I have no one else here at the house. I'm dazed and confused. I had to drive my 14-year-old to the airport at we left the house at like 3 o'clock in the morning because he went on his 8th grade trip. So my sleep schedule's all trashed.
I feel like you go to sleep at like 3 a.m., James.
Me? No.
Yeah.
Just because I watch all these films. It's funny. I was on something and we were talking about how many Mission Impossible movies there were versus. Was that on here where we were talking about Mission Impossible
Fast and
versus
Furious?
Yeah, it was Mission Quite Possible, evidently.
Right.
Yeah. Since we last spoke on that topic, I watched all 6.
Wow.
I did watch Hustle.
Jesus Christ, man.
Dude, I have an ability.
I haven't watched one movie.
Yeah, you had a homework assignment. Brendan had a homework assignment due 3 weeks ago to watch Swingers, the Vince Vaughn version, and he cannot find
God.
it.
Yeah. I talked about this, that's the way my brain works. I multitask. I'll have a game on one TV and a movie on another or a TV show on another while I'm writing, while I'm on social media, and while I'm using my phone. That's just the way my brain it churns. So, all right, I think that's going to do it for this edition of the Kings Beat podcast. We are going to have a special. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but we have an interview this week that's coming in. It's a good guest. I'm excited about the guest. It's going to be more draft talk. But, it's one of those things where we promised we would do more draft talk, that we would have guests come in for draft talk. And so we've got one coming in. It'll probably only be two of us because matching schedules and the matching schedules with someone somewhere else is going to be extremely difficult.
Who did you promise doing more draft talk? Because we've done a ton.
We've done a lot of draft talk. No, but at the beginning, and I said we would bring in guests.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we're bringing in a guest. And again, I like this guest. I think it's a good guest to bring in and to add to the discussion because you get an outside perspective where maybe he tells us that Jaden Ivey is the 7th best player in this draft, and the Kings are foolish not to take Keegan Murray at number 4. I don't know what he's going to say, but so that'll be coming. Either we'll drop an extra pod or we'll tuck it into Thursday's pod. I don't know what we'll do, but we'll figure it out. We'll be back on Thursday. What day is the finals this week?
Game 6 is Thursday. Game 7, if necessary, would be Sunday.
Okay, Thursday. Okay. And Sean, clearly you're not going to game. Maybe we should just all get together and watch the game together. I don't know what happened to...
Brendan's in the Matrix again.
Brenden fell into the Matrix. So
the Matrix movie is Brendan. That's a movie with Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne and Carrie Ann Moss. It was pretty good. They ended up having a few of them. One was animated. That wasn't as good, but
that's hilarious. And we had Matt George on the on D'Lo and Casey yesterday, and he showed up from the finals, but he was outside, and he just popped in, froze, and then went away, and he looked like the bad guy from the Matrix. I was waiting for Mr. Anderson. Yeah. Now we've got 2 Brendans. Brendans are better than one. Let's see if we can add Brenden to the stream.
There he is.
There we go. All right. That's going to do it for this edition of the Kings Beat podcast. Thanks for tuning in to us. And while we bicker like little biddies, make sure to give us a thumbs up. Make sure to give us a subscription. Jump on board with the Kings Beat. So for Fox 40's Sean Cunningham, and of course Brenden Nunes from the Kings Herald and the Kings Pulse podcast, I am James Ham, your Kings insider for ESPN 1320 and the Kings Beat. We'll see you at least one more time this week, but probably twice.